my gratitude also, as well as the gratitude of everybody here. So, shall we call the meeting to order now for the Finance and Planning Committee meeting? And I'll ask the Executive Secretary to call the roll.
Sure. I'll start with you, Commissioner Chow,
Present.
and Commissioner Guillermo.
Present.
I will read the, thank you. I'll read the land acknowledgement. The San Francisco Health Commission acknowledges that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who were the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. We can move on to item 2, which is the approval of the November 7th, 2023 minutes. And if I can quickly go over some corrections, which Commissioner Chow had asked me to make. On the first page, his participation is now noted as remote. On that same page, second sentence under Commissioner comments, on the monthly contracts report, the word she has been changed to he. And then finally, on page 3, on the contracts report, for the action taken, I've added the sentence, I've added the clause, excluding the Barty Diagnostics, Inc. contract, which will be reviewed at the December 5th, 2023 meeting. Thank you for those corrections, Commissioner Chow.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
Move to accept the minutes.
And I would say,
Actually, before we go there, may I check public comment?
oh, yes.
Just to make sure that folks on the line, if you would like to make comment on the minutes, please press *3. Seeing no one in the room. All right, great. So commissioners, I will do a roll call vote. Commissioner Chow, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
And Commissioner Guillermo?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Let's move on to item 3, the contracts report.
Okay, I just want to note before you go, Mark, that we get two views of the room, but your one view seems to be frozen. So, I think that just got solved. Thank you.
Yes, it moves around. Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Chow.
All right.
All
Let's
right.
go on to the contracts report then. Thank you.
Sure. And to everybody in the room, please note that the black bar is the speaker. And so please don't block it, or if you're turning pages, try to do it away from the desk so that it doesn't kind of amplify. And please state if you're going to speak, state your name and your title. Thank you.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm Dean Goodwin, manager of community-based organization contracting with DPH with the monthly contracts report. This month we have 4 items. The first is for Barty Diagnostic Incorporated. The requested action is approval of a new contract to continue existing services in the amount of $2,682,400 with contingency for a term of 5 years from April 13th, 2023 to April 12th, 2028. Though the previous contract expired on December 1st, 2022, the department did not place any.
All right. Please mute yourselves if you're not speaking. You just interrupted a presentation. Thanks. Go ahead, Dean.
Thanks, Mark. Where was I? Okay. Though the previous contract expired on December 1st, 2022, the department did not place any orders with this vendor until April 13th, 2023. Therefore, the city attorney directed that the renewal contract should commence on April 13th, 2023. The commission had previously heard and approved this contract item at the December 2022 meeting 1 year ago. At that time, the department was informed that the renewal contract would be with an entity called Welch Allen Incorporated, which was a business unit of the parent company of Baxter Healthcare and a participant under the Vizient Group Purchasing Organization, or GPO. Baxter, through its acquisition of Hill-Rom, who had originally purchased Brady and Welch Allen, then informed the department during contract negotiations that they now wish to sell the Barty products and services through Barty Diagnostics Incorporated and not Welch Allen. And as such, the proposed contract is no longer under the Vizient Group Purchasing Organization Authority. With contract negotiations now completed, we are now ready to move forward with a 5-year renewal contract or new contract with Barty Diagnostics Incorporated. Reasons for the funding change. The department is requesting approval of a total contract amount with contingency of $2,682,400. This represents an increase of $1,429,312 from the previous contract due to the length of the previous agreement of 2 years to a new contract with a 5-year term, as well as a reassessment of the actual usage of the product based on actual expenditures from the prior contract. Since understanding of the demand based on data obtained in the prior engagement, there is no rate change on the CAM patch, which is a Carnation ambulatory monitor, which is a wearable device or patch that records a patient's ECG data and is sent in by the patient to Zuckerberg SFGH or to Barty, where data is downloaded into Barty's portal, which generates an ECG report provided to the ordering physician. The unit cost remains the same at $210 each, as it was in the previous agreement. If you have any questions, we have Rosalie Ferrer, Director of Nursing for Medical and Surgical Specialty Clinics, who's attending remotely and can respond.
Fine, thank you. Commissioner Guillermo, any questions?
No, I think this is carried over from the last time where we were just correcting some, the contract term, correct?
Yeah, it was the gap in the term, which we didn't have information on, which I provided the information. The gap is still there, but it was recommended by the city attorney that we begin on the day of the first order because it was a retroactive contract because of the ongoing negotiations.
Right, okay. Yeah, I'm satisfied, thank you.
Okay, I have no questions either. Let's go on to the next one.
Okay, a second contract is with Maxim. Requested action is approval of a contract amendment with Maxim to increase the total contract amount with contingency to $9,900,000 and to reflect the new term of September 14th, 2021 through 12/31/2024. This contract was previously approved by the Commission on February the 5th, 2019. The contract will continue to provide temporary, as needed, traveling nursing personnel with expertise to the San Francisco General Health Network, Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital and Trauma Center, and Laguna Honda Hospital, and other San Francisco Health Network facilities. The reason for the funding change, the network is requesting a total contract amount with contingency of $9,900,000, which is an increase of $4,900,000 due to the following changes. Additional funding to extend 1 more year for fiscal year 23 through fiscal year 24 in the amount of $4,900,000. Fiscal year 22-23's annual budget is $1,944,468. 12% contingency was added. The previous contingency was $535,714. The current contingency will now be $1,060,714. If you have any questions, we have Jillian Otway, the nursing supervisor, who's attending virtually and can respond to questions you may have.
Fine.
I had a quick question. So the additional amount is the extension plus an increase in the annual amount. So that's actually not explicitly stated in the reason for funding change.
The extension includes an additional amount. It's an extension of 1 year, but it's an as needed. So they're adding additional money just to be safe so that we don't have to come back again. These services should be put out to bid in the next year during the extended term of this contract.
Right. No, I'm just, yeah, I see that. It's just that in the narrative on the reason for funding change, it doesn't say the increase. It gives the amount of the increase, but it doesn't say that the reason is also an increase in the
For
in the
additional
amount.
funding.
Yeah, an additional. So just want to make sure that that gets reflected.
Thank you.
We have other contracts for additional nursing, which are usually by the other agencies. Is this specifically because this is a traveling nurse type of organization, or is it just an additional resource for us?
You are very correct, Commissioner Chow. We do have multiple contracts for similar services with other agencies for additional as needed nursing. I'll let Jillian respond to that question if this is specific to traveling nurses. Is she on there, Mark?
Yeah, she's not on. Is anyone here representing this contract besides Jillian? I don't see Jillian's name.
Well, I mean, perhaps it's matter of inquiry and being able to understand the totals and how we are using these different agencies. I know you often need to have several because sometimes one can't do to with the other, but this one's just sort of surfacing now, saying traveling nursing, and that's why I was just wondering if this was only traveling nurse. It's
I believe that to be the case, Commissioner Chow. I'll investigate with Jillian and I'll provide that response to Mark, but I believe that is the case.
okay.
I don't want to go on record. I'll confirm.
Sure.
Okay. Who is, just, anyone know who that is by any chance? Whoever's making all the noise? Okay. Anyway, thank you, Dean. Please go on.
Okay. The third item is with the San Francisco Public Health Foundation. The requested action is approval of a contract amendment with the San Francisco Public Health Foundation to extend the term by 4 years and 11 months for a total term of 8 years, beginning July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2029 for a new total contract amount with contingency of $11,296,292. The Health Commission previously approved this contract on September 7th, 2021. The contract provides for PhD food security program services for San Francisco residents impacted by food insecurity, health disparities, and diet-sensitive diseases. Of the annual amount of $820,928, the San Francisco Public Health Foundation will receive a 10% indirect cost in the amount of $74,630, with the remaining amount of $746,298 for programmatic services. The proposed amendment is authorized under RFQ 3/2020. Additional funding will continue to support the food security modality. This proposed amendment is subject to approval by the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. The reason for the funding change, there's a lot here. The department is requesting approval for a total contract amount with contingency, as stated, of $11,296,292, or an increase of $1,723,969 for the following. There's a decrease in general funding in fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $17,708, a decrease in the sugary drink distributor tax for fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $28,220, a decrease in the Dreamkeeper initiative funding for fiscal year 22-23 of $1,468,535, a decrease in the sugary drinks distributor tax funding for 23-24 in the amount of $700,000, carry forward of general fund unspent 22-23 of $17,708, carry forward of sugary drinks tax unspent funds from 23-24 in the amount of $28,220, general funding for fiscal year 24-25 through fiscal year 28-29 in the amount of $2,375,000, which comes out to $475,000 annually. Sugary drink distributor tax funding for fiscal year 24-25 through fiscal year 28-29 in the amount of $1,200,000 or $300,000 annually. A USDA Gus NIP, which is a Gus Shoemaker Nutrition Incentive Program grant for fiscal year 24-25 in the amount of $150,000. And additional Gus NIP grant for 25-26 and 26-27 in the amount of $350,000 or $175,000 annually. A decrease in $182,496 in contingency value applied to current and future years. The previous contingency amount was $806,07, and the current contingency will now be $623,511. Please note the annual amount has decreased by $654,072 due to the following reasons. A decrease, as stated earlier, a decrease in the sugary drink tax of $700,000 and a carry forward of general funds unspent of $17,708 and another carry forward of sugary drink tax unspent in the amount of $28,220. If you have any programmatic questions, we have Paula Jones, who's the Deputy Director of Food Security for DPH, as well as Eric Chan, Health Program Planner. They're attending virtually and can respond to any program questions you may have.
Commissioners.
Commissioner? You didn't have, Commissioner Guillermo, did you say you had no questions?
No, I had just a clarification.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So I was just trying to understand in the reason for funding change, a decrease in general funding for fiscal 22-23 in the amount of 17,708. So that's already happened, right? So we're asking we're asking for approval for something that already happened. Okay.
Well, it's explaining the amount in the change. You'd approved it previously,
Uh-huh.
and the change has transpired since then. So it's,
Retroactive approval of
yeah,
it.
I mean, it's math to code to reconcile what the total amount was and what it will be now. So it's
Then,
cumulative.
okay, I think I get that. Then what, in the note, the please note, you have a number 2, the carry forward of general fund unspent funds in that same amount, 17. So there was a decrease in the general funding for fiscal 22-23, but it was also an unspent that's being carried forward. So I just don't quite understand how that works.
That's a really good question. So that's to clarify the ongoing total. So there's an NTE, or a not to exceed amount. So when there's unspent money and it's recaptured and carried forward, they decrease that amount from the year that it was unspent to bring the
Oh, okay.
NTE amount down. So the total running amount is reconciled.
Okay. It's just hard to follow that when it's, you
Trust
know.
me, I get it. It seems things in my eyes cross a little bit, but yeah, that's what that is. That's one thing we do when we're getting close to the NTE amount. We reduce unspent dollars because those were unspent.
Okay, so they're directly related to each other. So they're,
Yes.
if it's unspent, it gets to be carried forward, but then you have to decrease the approved amount. Okay, got it.
Right.
Okay,
It's cleaner if you decrease
Yeah.
the unspent amount, and
okay,
it brings the NTE amount down.
got it. Thanks.
It's so we're just looking at this rather confusing set of funders, but I'm interested that the sugary drink distribution was a negative 700,000 off the budget of 23-24. So it then says that the 24-25 through 28-29, we're anticipating 300,000 annually. So just looking at the sugary tax fund, then was it, or could we say that if you had to reduce the 23-24 by 700,000, that was supposedly anticipated as $1 million, and that now we're looking at really 300,000 per year annually? So we've actually had reduction of use of sugary drinks to a rather dramatic number, it would seem, from at least these numbers of dollars coming from, or maybe they distributed elsewhere. I'm not sure.
I'm unclear as well. Paula, are you
Yeah.
and able to respond?
Good
Thank you.
afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Dr. Chow, for that question. What happened was that $700,000 that was reduced, we actually moved it to the maternal child health budget because those were the funds that were supporting pregnant WIC clients with additional vouchers for fruit and vegetables every month for 9 months of their pregnancy. So we really just decided, because that part of the money was already embedded in the WIC program, it would make more sense for them to manage that piece.
Oh, so there wasn't a, I mean, there is a reduction of the sugary fund, but it's not that dramatic where we had miscalculated considerably.
No, it's actually not a reduction of the allocation to this purpose. It's just we moved it over to let Preeti Rani and her role as director of WIC go ahead and manage that directly, because she could, and then that, if Dean could correct me, but I believe the department has gone into contract with UCSF, EDSF for that amount of money to do that piece already. So through this Public Health Foundation contract, it's been reduced, but the funds are still going toward the purpose, and it's the same amount. It's just being managed by Preeti Rani over at Maternal Child Health.
Sure. On the programmatic side, could you just describe what this actually does?
Yes. Thank you for that question. Yeah, what this does is provide additional funds to purchase healthy food to people who are qualified. So we have had right now two subcontractors over the past couple of years. One has been the EDSF program. And as I've said, it's run by UCSF. It provides additional grocery vouchers. So or fruit and vegetable vouchers that's provided to pregnant WIC clients so they can purchase more fruit and vegetable during their pregnancy. And those vouchers are accepted by over 30 vendors, being corner stores, grocery stores, the WIC clinic, and some of the farmers markets. And the other part of what this funds does, it matches the Cal Fresh, which is the EBT transactions at the heart of the city farmers market. So when families come to use their EBT card to purchase fruits and vegetables at heart of the city, it provides them with additional funds so that they can buy more fruits and vegetables.
Okay, and I had just noticed this, that we didn't actually have a listing for the number of clients that might actually be impacted by this. So I'm sorry I didn't send that request in earlier, but do you have some idea as to how many people we have been touching with this program?
Yes, and last year we did have to collect this information as part of our work on the biannual food security and equity report. So last year we estimated that over 14,000 people were touched through both the EAT-SF program with WIC and with other families that they are able to support with fruit and vegetable vouchers. And then through the Heart of the City Farmers Market with their EBT program. And they're able to really understand unique clients that are being served by using the EBT number. So it's over 14,000 clients with this.
Oh, that's very good, and very helpful to understand how many people were helping supplementing their, I guess, their resources, right, for food and in reducing their insecurity a little.
That's right, and specifically, this program has been very focused on, additional money for fruits and vegetables.
Okay, well, very good, thank you. I don't have any further questions. Commissioner Guillermo, did you have any further questions on this one?
No further questions. It's just if the minutes can reflect the number of folks that were touched as per Commissioner Chow's question.
Yes, I'll include that. Thank you.
Very good. Let's go on to the next one then.
Okay, the fourth item is for Positive Resource Center. This is an HIV health services contract. The requested action is approval of a contract amendment with PRC to extend the term by 2 years and 8 months for a total term of 10 years from March 1st, 2018 through February 29th, 2028, and to reflect a new total contract amount with contingency of $15,453,768. The Health Commission previously approved this contract on December 7th, 2021. This contract provides emergency financial assistance and eviction prevention in the form of grants for housing, utility bills, medical expenses, etc., for San Francisco residents diagnosed with HIV and who are at risk of becoming homeless and or marginally housed. The proposed amendment is authorized under RFP 44-2017. Additional funding will continue to support the emergency financial assistance modality. This proposed amendment is subject to approval by the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. The reason for the funding change, the department is requesting the total amount with contingency of $15,453,768, which is an increase of $5,460,146 due to the following 11 changes. One is a decrease in the Ryan White Part A funding for fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $27,892, a decrease in the general fund funding for fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $8,519, an increase in Ryan White Part A cost of doing business funding for 23-24 in the amount of $33,431, one-time Ryan White Part A carry forward funding for 23-24 in the amount of $318,187, an increase in the general fund CODB for 23-24 in the amount of $17,290, plus a one-time general fund carry forward for fiscal year 23-24 of $300,000 for a total that year in general fund of $317,290, an increase in the general fund cost of doing business for 24-25 in the amount of $17,290, Ryan White Part A funding for fiscal year 24-25 in the amount of $300,000, Ryan White Part A funding for 25-26 through 27-28 in the amount of $3,011,403, or an annual amount of $1,003,801. General fund funding for fiscal year 25-26 and 26-27 in the amount of $762,580, or 381,290 annually. A prorated general fund funding for 8 months for July 1, 27 to 29/28 for fiscal year 27/28 in the amount of 254.93 and an increase of 482,183 in the contingency value applied to current and future years only. The previous contingency amount was 375,814, and the current contingency amount will become 857,997. Please note the annual amount is an increase of 668,908 due to an increase in the Part A cost of doing business funding for 23/24 of 33,431, a one-time Part A carry forward funding in fiscal year 23/24 in the amount of 318,187, and an increase in the general fund CODB of 17,291, as well as a one-time general fund carry forward for 23/24 for 300,000, for a total in general fund of 317,290. If you have any programmatic questions, we should have Beth Neary, Assistant Director of HIV Health Services, online to assist with that.
Commissioners, any questions?
Commissioner Guillermo?
None for me, thanks.
Okay, I think the information that's provided to us, because this is part of the question that has been raised concerning continuing to give contracts to people who are potentially fiscally marginally continuing to meet the city's needs. And I just wanted to note that in the business office reports that we have been given access to, that we would find that the PRC and place audits now seem to be turning the corner, and that their improved ratio working capital that we saw in the last data that was submitted to us is now approaching one, which is where the city would like to see them at, because there has become a question that if somebody is really fiscally insolvent, why are we giving them more money? So I know Commissioner Guillermo has been very good at understanding finances. And are you satisfied with the report that we have received from the audit? Because we discussed this earlier in previous meetings.
I don't know if satisfied is a
Well, are you
there's so
comfortable
many-
with
yeah.
us then submitting, a proposal here for going to a 10-year contract with a contractor, or do you think that it should be of shorter time? The reports seem to read that they have now gotten their act together and are moving. They've moved from a major deficit to nearly a break even in their last audit.
Yeah, I think my major concern is, as we are seeing these kinds of issues in our contractors' ability to manage grants and keep the programs operating in a way that is impactful, that the department is able to identify quickly and step in to provide the kind of assistance. And I think the issue is how long between the assistance that's provided and results. Do we need to or want to wait, without thinking about whether, services aren't appropriately provided, or that money is not, it should be going somewhere else. And I think that that's a more difficult, and a discussion to have, and it requires a little bit more information. So the fact that there is some progress is good and hopeful.
Hopeful, yeah.
But I wonder if we're going out to, 28, what steps might be able to be taken if we see, what are we going to be looking at to make sure that we don't have them get into the situation again without us intervening and being able to do something about that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a very good and thoughtful question, Commissioner Guillermo. I have Wasim Samira here from BOCC who put together both of those reports you were reading, that does have that hopeful track of things moving in the right direction. If you have any specific questions for him, or if there's anything you want to add about how they're doing on their path.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Wasim Samara from the Business Office. I think what we're aiming for is the reports that you guys started to see recently, or maybe in the past years. We're trying to kind of look more, more for trends. So look more longer term, compile like the data for multiple years, and try to kind of catch trends before before a major issue happens. So we continue to monitor the agencies on a yearly basis. We definitely look at their audited financial statements every year, and then depending on the agency's situation, we may do a full-on expanded monitoring, which looks at other things, not just financials, like board governance, fiscal policies and procedures, and so on. So, we are kind of trying to stay kind of ahead of the game, but obviously sometimes agencies change course, pretty dramatically. But we are increasing our monitoring and compiling more data to get more like a trend, look more multiple years as opposed to just like a single year. And I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it's good to know, but I think that looking into the future, we're probably going to see more of this, right? And given what we've seen in the past is a lot of what happens with these organizations and even within the department is we're not able to recruit sufficient numbers of skilled staff, right? So that puts, and you don't know whether and how that's going to affect the ability to perform on a contract or a grant until until some of the problems begin to surface, right? And so I think if there's some proactive way to identify, because I really do think a lot of this has to do with with staffing, and the staffing, whether it's appropriate staffing or enough staffing, and bringing folks on board and then getting them really sort of on the ground and providing the services. So the connection between that and the impact on the clients, the patients, the folks in the community is something that I just want to make a better connection, want us to make a better connection to. So I know that what services is the numbers on the financial statements and whether the audit has been performed and all of that. But then what we're really wanting to make the connection is what's the ultimate impact, on what we're actually contracting the organization, the nonprofit, or whoever to do. And I know that takes time, right? And so, it also takes testing out a couple of different tools, right? And the efficacy of those tools. So it's just something that would be nice to continue to have a dialogue on and report on, and then just maybe begin to test things out a little bit more on a timely basis.
Absolutely.
And I was heartened by the, thank you, Wasim. I was also heartened by their BOCC program monitoring report, which was conducted for fiscal year 21-22 services and completed last year, and it looked like it was performing very well, which coinciding with your comments has been indicative that they're serving the clients well. They seem to be fully staffed.
Yeah, and I'd like to think that that has a lot to do with what you're intervening, when and how, and the timeliness if you're intervening, and so really making that connection stick, and bringing out the best practices, around that would be helpful for us to know what you're finding.
Absolutely.
So, I recognize their current contract actually goes through June of 2025. What is the rationale that we then, while we are watching these trends, and the hope is that in the following audit, which is an audit that's coming, I think, in the spring, we hope that that's going to continue, and they have still a 1.5 year window to be able to look at whether or not they should be extended. What is the purpose of extending it now? seeing that, we
Yeah.
have a troubled contractor who is improving, and I'm sure that the department is helping them do that. But why do we need to make this contract extension at this point in time?
Beth Neary, HIB Health Services. We did not initially plan to extend it at this exact moment, but as a few amendments rolled up together, there were some cost of doing business increases for both Part A and General Fund, and additionally a pretty significant $318,000 add back or increase from the Ryan White Part A. All those fit within a possible revision to program budget that wouldn't have required extending it. However, when we added more general fund, an additional 300,000 general fund, that would put us above the $10 million cap within this fiscal year that ends June 30th. So we need to go to the Board of Supervisors to get authority to add that full 300,000. Otherwise, we'd have to scale that back for non-programmatic reasons, but contractual reasons. So since we're going to the Board of Supervisors, we consider very carefully when we go to the Board of Supervisors what we want to present to the Health Commission and the Board of Supervisors, since it takes a considerable amount of time for their budget and legislative analysts. So we decided it made sense for us to request extending a 2.8 year timeframe at the baseline budget amount, plus this year's one-time additions. So it really is just the general fund 300,000 last addition that put us over the considering how long this contract should extend. So we're happy to take questions on that, but that's the rationale.
Thank you, Beth.
Well, it kind of has a, it kind of looks funny that we're working with the agency in order to get them back into a fiscal soundness, and that we then, however, in spite of that, give them a contract for another 3 years. Now, I realize that we can always pull contracts back if they're not doing well. I mean, this is not that they're locked in for 3 years. But the optics are not great when we're under criticism as a department and as a city for mismanaging funds. So that's what causes me to wonder if this was a good time to really say that we want to extend all this way rather than just writing keeping them on the same time frame, but adding these new add backs that we're able to give them that I guess exceed the current contract. But I don't have a real answer to now. If this is what you want to do, I know technically we can always pull the contract if they're not doing well. So
Commissioners, may I offer a suggestion? This doesn't change the outcome of what the DPH is asking, but you all could ask for an annual report on this contractor so that you're doing your due diligence by monitoring and making sure that the DPH is on top of it, so that you're not hearing only about it when there's a difficult situation. It's on the calendar that you just have some type of check-in on this. That's all that I can offer from where I sit, based on what I'm hearing in the room today.
Yeah, I do think that might be the intermediate solution, and maybe we should discuss this as part of our major contracts and monitoring. And while it's convenient to be able then to add, because they're doing a good job in terms of the program, we need some sort of way of helping to justify this. So I think it would be reasonable if Commissioner Guillermo feels that she would like to then offer that we ask a return of this for the sake of understanding their financial situation following the audit even.
Yeah, I think that, given the financial status letter, that there are a number of deliverables for March, April 2024. So it'd be a good time, I think, to update us on whether those deliverables have actually occurred.
Like by May or June?
Yeah, once you get the reports and then you've had the chance to review them.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to do that.
But it would be also helpful, I think, if you don't get in March, April, what they have agreed to do, that we get notified.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can commit to do that between Wasim and myself and Beth and the HHS staff. We'll report back and make
Sure, and you can do that. You can do the reporting through me, and then we can decide how they want to interact with it in a public meeting. Does that sound okay, commissioners?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
That sounds great.
so do I understand that what we're proposing here is that there be a return report to us after the completion of the audit?
I believe Commissioner Chow that even before that, because there's some deliverables due in March, April, that I'm going to calendar it for May, June. I'll put a tickler in my system to ask Dean for a report back.
Oh,
And
okay.
and also, we're relying on DPH staff to notify you all through me if in March and April the deliverables don't occur. So actually, you know what I'll do? I'll put a tickler in for April and I'll put a tickler in for May for both of that to check with Dean on these, so that way we'll have good communication.
Okay, so we'll put that therefore on our recommendation contingent. Also on that, we will receive a report back regarding the recommendations from what's the group called now?
PRC.
See Baker Places, yeah.
No. I mean our monitoring group.
BOCC,
Okay.
BOCC, Business Office of Contract
Yeah,
Compliance.
yes,
Yeah.
that's it. I'm sorry. I was
No worries.
I was looking for the name on the letterhead and I couldn't find it at all. Thank
No
you.
worries. We
Okay.
have lots of acronyms that we use. Yep. Yeah, we'll be happy to report on the
Okay.
deliverables in April, May, and bring a report back after that.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, I think we need public comment on the contract report.
Yeah, so folks, we're on item 3, the contracts report. The commissioners have just discussed the individual contracts. Now it's time for public comment. If you'd like to make comment on any of the contracts or what was just discussed, please let us know by pressing *3. *3, or anyone in the room. No one in the room, no hands up, commissioners. So please consider a motion to recommend approval of these items at the full commission meeting.
I move a recommendation with the additional sort of caveats that Dr. Chow articulated to the full commission.
And I would second that.
All right, so Commissioner Chow, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
And Commissioner Guillermo?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And thank you everyone who presented. Item 4 is a request for approval of a new software maintenance and services agreement with Data Innovations.
So, good afternoon, Commissioner Chow and Commissioner Guillermo. My name is Pablo Munoz. I'm the EPIC Ancillary Manager at the hospital for the EPIC project. I'll read from the document for today in regards to the Data Innovations contract. So this request is for approval of a new software maintenance and service agreement with Data Innovations LLC to provide on-premise middleware software application to connect the hospital lab instruments at Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital's clinical laboratory and public health lab to the hospital EHR laboratory information module, EPIC Beaker. The proposed contract amount is of $762,616, which includes optional items that may or may not be executed in a 12% contingency for the term of December 1st, 23 through November 30th, 2025 for a 5-year term. I would like to point out that this is a sole source contract, given the unique experience that Data Innovation has in supporting the Beaker module, which is one of EPIC's modules that comprise the EPIC EHR software. On the second page of the document, you'll see it says that the purpose of this contract is for Data Innovations LLC to provide a software application to connect the lab instrument in Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital, Clinical Lab, and PHL Lab to the hospital EHR system, EPIC Beaker. EPIC Beaker is set to go live in October of 2025. This will help automate the process of data inputs and communications of lab instruments, results, and data of patients' electronic health records through the EPIC Beaker module inside of the EPIC healthcare records. Just a note, the labs for the hospital and the PHL, they process over 2 million specimens per year. So having this software will be a huge help for us in supporting their functions. In terms of background for Data Innovations, so for more than 30 years, Data Innovations LLC has been supporting clinical labs to achieve transformative operational outcomes with end-to-end laboratory enterprise management capabilities. Data Innovations leading solutions, world-class professional services, and support for an open and expansive ecosystem enable high-impact innovation, standardization across the lab. Any questions so far?
Commissioner Guillermo, any questions?
Yeah, so this connection didn't exist before, so this is a new,
This is a new connection. So as part of implementing the Beaker module, which is a new module, it is replacing 3 current systems that we have. They're coming out of contract in 2025. So it is a new connection with the new Beaker module that we're implementing.
so the previous contract, you said they're coming out of contract in
They're
2025?
correct. Those contracts run out in 2025. We are moving to Beaker as part of the overall department's plan of implementing the EPIC system, basically, which is comprised of a good number of modules, and Beaker being the next thing in terms of our path forward with EPIC.
So it's starting now just to transition
Correct.
as the old contracts, I mean, as the new connection is being made, so.
Correct.
Right.
So what will be happening is that or those existing contracts for the legacy systems, they expire in December 31st, 2025. We are starting the work now because it takes that long to get the data innovations in place, do all the testing that we need to do, and then also to implement the Beaker module so that both data innovations and Beaker come together in October of 2025 in anticipation of those contracts sunsetting.
Okay, great. And then just one other question on the listing of the CEO and board of directors. So the CEO is listed, but no board is listed, and then the firm is owned by a public company. I don't understand if it's a public company, but there's no board
There's
of
the board.
directors.
Correct. Let me see. Mike, are you on the line? Mike would be your contact from Data Innovations.
This is Sarah Lamberti from Data Innovations. The board of directors, the representative is Premila Peters, who is the president of Data Innovations.
That didn't answer my question. Like, where is the board?
So Sarah, the question is because on the document, it lists the CEO, but there's no one listed as board of directors. So is there a list of board of directors or names that you can call out, or why there is no one identified as board of directors?
I would have to confirm that information, but I don't believe that there is a board of directors, but I need to confirm.
But it says the firm is 100% owned by Roper Technologies, which is a public company. It's got to have a board of directors.
Are we asking that you're asking for the board of directors at Roper?
Well, I just
Yeah.
want to know the relationship. If Data Innovations is 100% owned by Roper,
And it's a public, there should
and
be
it's a
board.
public,
I
and
agree.
Roper is a
I
public
agree.
company, then the board is of the board of directors then of Data Innovations would then sort of go all the way up to Roper, right?
Correct.
Right. And so Roper would have a board of directors. It's a
Right.
public company. It's
Right.
got to have a board of directors.
Of course,
Yeah.
right?
yes, I agree.
Yeah, I think
in-
that's the question, is the board of directors at Roper.
Sarah, are you able to get this information to us somewhat quickly, like later today?
I'm working it at this very moment.
Okay, great. Commissioner, do you need to have this before you vote at the end, at the 4:00 meeting?
Well, it does speak to the type of work. I mean, it's a public company. Obviously this is a subsidiary of that public company, right?
Correct. What I can do, if you would help, so that you guys can continue with the meeting, I can try to get that information from Sarah on the side.
Yeah, it should be public. It should be,
Correct.
just go on Google
Right,
and.
exactly.
Excuse me, I do have are you looking for the names of the folks on the board of directors? Because I was able to get that information.
Great. Yeah, it's just because on the form, they usually list,
Right.
I mean, it asks for the board of directors and there's usually a list. This one doesn't have a list. So
And I
Okay,
found the board
absolutely.
online too, so I'm happy to, I'll forward, Sarah, I'll forward it. I found it as well. I Googled it. I'll forward it to the commissioners so they've got that information.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Okay, yes, let's see if there are other questions. I was just understanding you're saying that in October 2025, we will then terminate other contracts?
Correct. Well, those contracts are scheduled to terminate
Oh.
in December. So they're scheduled. That's when their natural conclusion comes into being, is in December of 2025.
All right. But
Um,
this contract only then helps put this together and is not a contract for continuation of ongoing maintenance of services.
We have the option to extend the contract.
Oh, okay, yeah, you had the option, that's right, because 25, and then you actually have a contract going through 2028. So,
Right.
okay, so it would also be the setting up and then the continuation and maintenance through 2028, right?
Correct.
Okay. Then I asked the reverse. It takes over a year and well, nearly 2 years in order
Yes.
to make all these connections.
Yes, and the reason that it does is because we have over 65 analyzers in the labs that must be tested. And so before we can actually connect any of them to our systems for testing the actual patient specimens, there's a rigorous process of testing the validity of those exams, so that by the time that we get all of those tests done, we'll still be working on the Beaker project, which would then put us together. The other piece that is not part of this contract, is a separate contract, is that at the clinical lab at the hospital, there is an Aptio line that is being implemented that is also comes into contact with this project. What that is, the Aptio line, is that, as I mentioned, we have over 2 million specimens that are processed, is that the Aptio line connects through the middleware. The Aptio line has the connection to the analyzers, which then basically passes all the specimens through the different analyzers, which have to be tested through the Data Innovations product to make sure that all of the data, all of the readings are correct, so that by the time that we implement Beaker, we have, aside from all the build that we have to do for the lab product itself, that the Data Innovations, and the specimen, the analyzers are reading and transferring the data correctly to Beaker. Does that help address the question?
Okay, yes, it's very complicated. Okay, well, I think yes, a lot of testing is needed. So thank you.
There's a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we ask for public comment, Mark?
Yes, sir. Folks, we're on what item are we on? We're on item 4. Please let us know if you'd like to make public comment by pressing *3 if you're online. I see no hands, Commissioner, so please consider a motion to recommend approval at the 4 o'clock meeting.
Yeah, I took a look at the board of directors. The link was forwarded to me, so satisfied with that. And so I'll make a motion to recommend approval.
I'll take your word and second this.
All right, Commissioner Chow, how do you vote on this
Yes.
item?
Yes.
And Commissioner Guillermo?
Yes, and then if we could add to the minutes, the board of directors.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll list the board.
Great, thank you both, Commissioner Guillermo, Commissioner Chow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Item 5 is a request for approval of a new services agreement with Civic Edge Consulting. Deidre Hussey will present.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Deirdre Hussey. I'm Director of Public Affairs. I oversee communications, issues management, and public records. Before you today is a contract for Civic Edge Consulting. It's a woman-owned, employee-led consultant firm based here in San Francisco that does marketing and engagement campaigns. Our intent with this contract is for the communications team and the behavioral health team to partner with Civic Edge on a public marketing and advertising campaign to raise awareness on two key issues. One, the availability and the effectiveness of treatment for opioid addiction. And two, the use of naloxone, a medication designed to rapidly reverse opioid overdose, and how everyone may be in a position to save a life. The first campaign will highlight effective medications for treating opioid addiction and will feature San Franciscans who are currently benefiting from treatment. The second will feature those who have saved lives by administering naloxone and those whose lives were saved by receiving naloxone. We hope this campaign will not only help people seek treatment, but also humanize the current crisis, reduce stigma, and provide answers to questions about treatment. The campaign is modeled after successful campaigns in both New York and Philadelphia. The communications team will partner closely with Civic Edge to identify the individuals we're going to feature in the campaign and help prepare the content. We ask that you approve this contract with Civic Edge because they have expertise in areas that the communications team lacks, which is media placement and media buys, market research, market reach, and market evaluation. Civic Edge has worked with other city departments and has proven effective. We believe we're at a critical juncture with overdoses in San Francisco, and we hope to have this campaign launched by Q2 of next year. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Guillermo?
Yeah, just one, well, at least one question. The narrative says that Civic Edge Consulting was the highest ranked proposer. What were the categories that would have put it up as the highest ranked?
I will have to get back to you on that because I was not involved in the, I was not thoroughly involved in the RFP process. And I don't want to misspeak on this, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay, yeah, it's just curious because it states it was the highest ranking. And so, and I know that, the city has used Civic Edge extensively. And even the department has, but it's just curious.
Do you have any? I do believe that you can probably say this more eloquently.
Just because it's a new area. And so we want to make sure that, highest ranked doesn't mean that it was the cheapest or it was the,
It's
most experienced. We just
right.
need,
It would be a variety of those factors they were looking at. So the OCA looks at services that are used by different city departments widely, and they do solicitations and then make those available for the departments to use. And we can either use the most highest ranked vendor who had the highest score in all the elements that OCA was looking at, or we can conduct a mini RFP and go through and send something to all of them, and they can all submit a short proposal, and we can have an internal review and selection process of our own. But we had heard good things about Civic Edge and had chosen to take advantage of the solicitation the OCA had done and select the highest ranked vendor from that list of providers that were made available.
So, yeah, if you could provide that information subsequent to this, just because I think if we're going to try and utilize or do more sort of public media campaigns, and particularly, in this time for these issues, I think it would be helpful for the commission to understand how what is the criteria for the kinds of things that we're considering that might be different from what other departments or other issues are considering, just so that, it's for our own oversight and for our own monitoring, I think would be really helpful.
Absolutely. I can check online and follow up with OCA and run that by Deidre and send that to Mark and have that to you within the next week or so.
Great. Thanks.
Sure. My pleasure.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, off the top of anybody's head, could somebody just name one of the projects that they were involved with? It says that they did do public health. So does somebody know what project they may have worked with us on?
I am not.
Can I answer
clear.
that? I'm here.
Oh, hi, Amber.
Hi,
Sorry.
Deirdre. Hi, Commissioner. We worked with the Department of Public Health on the soda tax outreach.
Oh,
This was right before COVID, so it was a few years back. But that was a really wonderful project.
and in the Soda Health contract, thank you for responding. How did you measure success?
Oh goodness, that's a great question. Because I didn't work on it, I would have to ask the team that worked on it. I know that things shifted because of the pandemic, and the main objectives had to shift. But my understanding is that it was based on reaching the folks who the department wanted to connect with, and the positive outcomes from that outreach. But I can get back to you.
So, while we have you then, what would you consider maybe have been one of the most successful campaigns that you've actually had? You've done bicycle construction and litigation and bonds and so forth. Did you work on our bond issue for general or?
No, not for Department of Public Health. A very comparable project that we just wrapped up was with the Department of Emergency Management, supporting their work to connect with people around what to do when you see someone in crisis on the street. So do you call 911? Do you call 311? How do you help someone? And we did a series of interviews and focus groups to make sure that our communications material would resonate, and then did the outreach to merchants along 7 or 8 of the business corridors in San Francisco, postered, connected with community-based organizations based on the dissemination plan that we created with that agency. And I think there's some connection to this work where it's a sensitive topic, and also we want people to see themselves reflected in the materials that we create.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the, and we'll look forward to this campaign. So,
Us too.
shall we ask for public comment?
Sure. Folks, we're on item 5. If you'd like to make comment, please press *3. I see no hands, commissioners.
Okay, we'll ask for a motion for a recommendation to the commission.
I move approval approval of the recommendation. And then if we can get that additional information. Yeah.
Yes, and I will second that.
All right, Commissioner Chow, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
And Commissioner Guillermo, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
Thank you both so much. Item 6 is a request for approval of a new contract with UST Conteneo Health to provide as needed specialized professional services.
Hello. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Gaurav Purohit. I'm the Director for Epic EHR. I'm actually representing items 6, 7, 8, and 9. They're all very similar. The intent really is.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we need to do each at a time. I mean, you can talk about them in bulk, but then they need to talk about them each. So if it's better to present them all, but then specify enough, because for the record, we have to show the public that we discuss them each alone.
Understood. So yes, it's exactly the same for all of them. So basically, the intent here is to seek professional services to support phase 3 of the Epic implementation. As my colleague mentioned, Beaker is one of them. The intent here is to solicit any resources, and there are more specialized resources that we may not have to fill Epic implementation specific roles. The total proposed contract amount is $3 million. So it's not individual $3 million per contract, but an overall cumulative of $3 million, which may be executed depending on the department needs and availability of resources. So it's only going to be utilized when we bring in those professional service resources to provide Epic implementation help. The total proposed contract also includes a 12% contingency, and the period it will run from is December 1 of 2023 through November 30th of 2028. So it's a 5-year contract. Any questions?
Commissioner, could you?
Yeah. So, okay. There separate contracts, but all for the same thing,
Correct.
right? And so I'm not quite sure how to ask the questions because the questions sort of apply to all four.
Okay, I'll figure out,
Okay.
you do what you got to do, and then I'll figure out how I do the minutes and all that.
So there, actually, yeah, four separate contracts, all to contract for things that may be needed as you're doing that phase 3 implementation. How do you decide which one you're going to, which company you're going to use for which part of the implementation?
So
Because it all looks like it's all for the same thing.
no, absolutely. So if you look on page 2 and you'll see all those specialized roles that we may bid
Right.
for. So what it does is just employing 4 different contracting firms, it gives us a larger pool of experts to recruit from. So let's say, for instance, if I'm looking for an Epic ambulatory role and one of the firms has it available, but the other 3 does not, that way it doesn't put us in limbo just by employing one firm. So it's just really, getting a larger pool of resources. And then, of course, we go through the interview process with our managers to decide which one's the best fit.
So would you say then that all of the 4 potential contractors have sort of a equal, skills base in order to be able to do that? So if one isn't available, the next one comes in, you're not going to have any drop off or whatever in the ability to.
Correct. That's an accurate statement. Yes, I agree.
Okay.
That would be it.
And then but the decision on which one to use is going to be left to who?
To our specific application manager. So for Beaker, for instance, it would be Pablo. And of course, it also depends on the timing and availability of the resources. So that also dictates which of the firms will be providing the appropriate resource for the appropriate application.
Okay. And we've not used any of these firms before, correct?
I believe so. Now,
Because it
pardon
all
me,
says
I've only
no.
been with the organization for 2 months.
Oh, okay. So,
I don't believe we have used these resources from the firms in the past.
yeah, on the form, it says no.
314E, we may have used resources.
So
That's-
just given that, right? And then given that you're going to have to choose between the 4 and we've never used them before, just, caution, I guess, in terms of how you're going to.
Absolutely. These are very well-known professional services firms in the industry. So I really don't see an issue. I think the real caveat here is the opportunity to have multiple firms just for our convenience in terms of having that wider range or pool of resources available to us when we need them.
And then evaluating how well that they do what is being contracted to do, correct? Right.
And if you see on page 2 where it breaks down by services, they are all very, very similar. The only variance is the hourly cost from one firm to another.
Which actually, I don't know.
That plays a role into it as well.
Right. I mean, to be honest, the hourly cost is quite reasonable.
Yeah.
It seems quite reasonable. So that's a good thing. Right. Okay, then just one question about a specific vendor or contractor. The first one, the UST Continental Health.
Mhm.
So a similar thing that I've asked in the last one, there's a board of directors that is not listed, or it's confusing. So it says the CEO is Raj Glora, and the board of directors is just 2 people.
That is correct, because
Okay.
the firm is, I think there has to be a certain size for an organization to have a board of directors. At least that's.
Well,
what
it says that the UST Global is 100% owner of
By Raj
UST.
Glora.
Right. So,
Correct.
yeah. So Raj Glora is the CEO of UST, right?
Yes.
And UST is made up of Vijay and Raj in terms of governance.
Correct.
Okay. The privately held firm.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
That's all my questions.
thank you. Could you describe a little more? I mean, it's in phase 3, it says ambulatory, but I thought we already have primary care under it, so I'm not sure what ambulatory means.
No. Yes.
the inpatient and ancillary, I mean, these are very broad, so maybe you could help us with being more concrete about what phase 3 is.
No, absolutely. So what you see listed here are these specialized resources. They give you a generic hourly cost for all of the Epic modules. We'll obviously not be using Epic Care Ambulatory since we're live on that specific module. But you also have to keep in mind that sometimes people leave and we may have to backfill resources while we hire an FTE, which can be a long process. So in order to support that,
Oh, I see. Okay, so this listing is actually the
to a
listing of all
temporary
the different
resource.
hospitals you have.
Could you repeat that, Dr. Chow?
So what we're seeing is the listing is the list of those types of modules or areas that you would be using these people as expertise in order to like fix my chart or something like that. Is that it?
Correct, and that's as needed.
Yeah.
So we may not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no. Then that makes it really easier to understand that this is the. These are the experts that can come in and help with these particular units that we have. Yes. Okay.
Correct.
I got it. Thank you. Shall we look for public comment? On this, we are only on item number 6 here right now, talking about UST.
Yes, let's see. Folks, if you'd like to make comment on item 6, please press star 3. I see no hands, commissioners.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get a recommendation from Commissioner Guillermo.
I move approval, recommendation for approval.
Okay, and I would second that.
Commissioner Chow, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
And Commissioner Guillermo?
Yes.
All right, great. Item 7, it seems like you all have already discussed. If there's public comment, please press star 3. Again, we're on item 7. I see no hands, so commissioners, please consider a motion to recommend approval.
I'll move recommendation for approval to the full commission.
And I would second that.
Commissioner Chow, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
And Commissioner Guillermo?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 8, Impact Advisors LLC. If you'd like to make public comment on this item, please press star 3. I see no hands, so commissioners, please consider recommendation for approval.
Move recommendation for approval to the full commission.
I would second.
Commissioner Chow, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
And Commissioner Guillermo?
Yes.
All right, we are on item 9. If public comment, if you'd like to make public comment on item 9, please press star 3. I see no hands, so commissioners, please consider a motion to recommend approval.
I move recommendation for approval to the full commission.
And I would second.
Great. Commissioner Chow, how do you vote on this item?
Yes.
And Commissioner Guillermo?
Yes.
All right.
And really glad that we do have all those resources. So thank you for making sure that that happens.
Absolutely. Thank you, commissioners.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And thanks for your patience with that, commissioners. That was a little unusual. Okay. Item 10 is a report back on a solicitation. And again, commissioners, for your edification and for the public, these presentations are giving you some information that you will use as contracts come in future months. So this is, and we'll include these in the packets or mention them during the presentations of those contracts. But right now, this is just to give you the sense of it before you see the contracts in the future. Item 10 is a report back on the solicitation 7482. And I believe Jessica Brown will start. Jessica, are you there? All right. Well, let's go to the next one. Min, are you here? Yes, I see you. I will pull up that presentation. And Dean, could you email Jessica and just try to make sure she's here? Give me 1 second to share my screen. Okay, Min, I'm showing the presentation. Please begin talking.
Is it that one or is it the other one?
I'm sorry, did I do the wrong one? Okay, I apologize. There we go. Okay. All right, Min, you're muted. Could you unmute yourself, please? Oh, hold on. Min, your sound is not coming in for some reason. I don't know what's happening. Can you check it? Because I see you talking, but we don't hear the sound. Can you try to say something? Yeah. Boy. Okay, so Teresa, Min, can you check on your sound? I think we'll go back to the other presentation, and Teresa, you said that she will try to speak to it as I go through the slides and try to work, maybe log off and log back in, Min, and see if that works. And give me 1 second to move over to the other slide. Okay, is this the right one? Teresa, is this the right one for you? No, it's the other one? Okay, sorry.
It's a different number. That's the one from.
Okay.
That one.
Okay, there we go. Okay, Teresa, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, Teresa, I also can't hear you. Wow, what's going on today? Okay. Teresa, can you try talking again? Yeah, neither of you are muted, but we can't hear you. Commissioners, I apologize.
You hear me now?
Yes, Min, we can hear you. Teresa, maybe.
I
Did you
logged
try to
off and logged on. That worked.
Teresa, can you do the same thing, please? And so we'll go with you, Min. Give me 1 second to switch presentations, and thanks for your patience, commissioners. Okay, almost there. Okay, is that the right presentation for you, Min?
No,
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, there we go.
Here it is. Yes.
Okay.
All right. I'm glad the technology finally worked. Sorry for this, commissioners. My name is Min Tan. I'm the director for school-based mental health services within the Children, Youth, and Family System of Care of BHS. So what we're going to talk about today is 2 RFGA. One is 7781. That's the MHSA funded programs at the school settings. 7782 is partially funded by MHSA with other city funding, but these are for high school wellness center initiatives. So those two. So we're going to talk about what are the places where the two solicitations sits within the BHS. So you have a broad view. Then the overview of the two solicitation and services, vendor selected contract amount. Then we're going to talk about a bit about how to monitor and performance evaluation. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is more give a quick view about where Children, Youth, and Family System of Care, the system I work with and under, within the behavioral health services, while in parallel with the TAE and the adult programming. Next slide, please. So then within the Children, Youth, and Family System of Care, the two solicitations I will talk about belong to the prevention and health promotion. So they are not direct treatment. They are more for less intensity, less risk population
but the number of students they will cover is a lot larger than say outpatient or intensive outpatient. They all provided, mostly provided at the school sites as well. Next slide, please. Okay. So first one, RFGA 77A1. These are the school-based mental health programs at the school district. They're designed to really serve children, youth who have behavioral health difficulties, mainly aimed to reduce risk factors, promote wellness, and reduce stigma. The special attention being paid to more at-risk, underserved population, particularly for children, youth who have risk for failing school, absent, truant, already display some challenging behavior in the classroom, or have been exposed to trauma. So those are the population we focused on. And next slide, please. So the scope of service. So for the 77A1 RFGA has two big programming. We talk about this first program. These are behavioral health services and trauma recovery services at the high school settings. So for this programming one, two settings, setting 1A, it's at the Balboa Teen Health Clinic, that particular clinic located in Balboa High School. So the focus of the service there is for case management, referral linkage services for students and parents who need them on scheduled basis and drop in. That's what the advantage of being at the school. Individual and group counseling for students, families are provided too. Crisis intervention when it's appropriate needed. And then for particular where the Balboa High School located at, we focus on some community building and violence prevention events. So that's setting 1A at the Balboa High School. Setting 1B, still for high school students, but broader, more trauma recovery services for high school students and family, or particularly truancy or at risk for truancy. And this particular program then want to help the parents and family for wraparound services. Because a lot of the truant students, their family really lack of food on the table, shelter, stable housing, a lot of social service needed. So the parents and family can be helped so they can help the students go to school. So the focus of this particular program is the wraparound service for youth caregivers and some school staff too, because school staff need to understand why these kids don't show up at classroom. So they get some mental health consultation for these students and family. And a trademark kind of for this population is very much trauma, stress-related issue. So we want to provide trauma-related support, psychoeducation, and treatment. Next slide, please. Now we talk about programming number 2 within 77A1. These are the mental health services and early intervention program, focus on consultation as well at the elementary school and the middle school. Then also dividing into 2 settings. One setting is mental health service at a particular school, Charles Drew College Preparatory Academy Elementary School in Bayview District. The second setting, early intervention program, more have a neighborhood concept for Mission Neighborhood, Outer Mission Neighborhood. They always add the James Lake Middle School. Then per community needs, they may select couple school that's particularly needed at certain year. For example, this year they are at Cesar Chavez and Bryan Elementary, plus James Lake. So then both programs focus on certainly students who request services with special emphasis for students who already show behavioral health difficulties. Also provide service to caregivers, families, school personnel when it's appropriate. So it does have a mental health consultation flavor to it, how to help adults in students' life to help the students. they probably more landing in the school environment jargon, since these clinicians are totally stationed at the school. So they follow their tier 1 services, which is more universal for all students. Then tier 2 services means after, say, universal screening, let's say for special trauma, targeted group can be provided to selected students. So their service focus on tier 1, tier 2, and a significant strengths of both programming. They always show adaptation, variation necessary for either that particular school environment, because every year changes, and the neighborhood. Next slide, please. So this table just show for these 2 different programming, each have 2 different settings, so total 4 settings, which vendor are selected, what amount of annual funding being provided. I particularly like to highlight, say, the 1A, we also add additional money to them, 2A, additional money, because they need higher salary for their staff. So these additional funding provided really made a significant differences for this year. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we transition to the second RFGA, 77A2. They are partially funded by MHSA, but also significantly funded by, say, DCYF and the City General Fund. These are wellness center initiative at the San Francisco School District high schools. So we have 15 high schools have these wellness centers. Each wellness center has a full-time wellness clinician from the provider. Next slide, please. In the scope of services, the wellness center provide outreach and promotion for wellness and health. They provide screening, assessment, the mental health consultation to the school staff, teacher, para, including admin and school principal for overall school environment. They do provide individual brief interventions for these students, typically 6 to 8 sessions maximum. When they feel the particular student or family parents even need more than 8 sessions, they will refer to either their own agency's long-term treatment services or even outside the agency, throughout the city. Group definitely provided for targeted students after universal evaluation. And what's new, particular for this year, we added a funding for education prevention and early intervention for substance use disorder related services. They are more focused on the education prevention and early intervention part. The treatment part is more governed by the treatment program. So that's for additional health related to SUD. Next slide, please. So this shows the selected vendors RAMs, then the annual amount is almost $2.25 million annually. Next slide, please. So this more we want to at the end talk about just overall contract monitoring, performance evaluation for these early intervention prevention programs. At the BHS level, system of care, children, youth, and family system of care that I belong to, I'm the program manager. We will have consistent engagement with each of the programs, then more provide real-time clinical assistance, right? Where the staff could be, what the modality treatment could be. MHSA as the main funder and the significant partial funder for the wellness center, they require mid-year and annual MHSA report. Then the MHSA report templates, including demographic component and program narrative. So we know who you see, what the population characteristics, and what particular service you provide, and what the experience and feedback could be. Then within the behavioral health system, we have business office contract monitoring and compliance called the BOCC. at the end of each year, they will provide on-site monitoring, go visit the sites, all through the virtual meeting to talk with the program administrator about the experience. Then our contract development technical assistants more provide real-time help from the contract aspect versus a system program manager like me more for clinical assistance. Next slide, please. I think that's it. So open for questions. Thank you for your patience and tolerate a little technical difficulties.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Commissioner Guillermo.
Yeah, just wondering for each of the services that are provided, how are the students who are being referred for the services identified, and who identifies them?
Thank you for that question. Since most services provide at the school, so student could self-refer. They don't feel good about, they can drop in. Teacher can see, monitor, or this particular student seem lethargic, not pay attention, maybe mental health related, can bring them to the wellness center. Social worker, school admin could make a referral to parents, family as well. Then for one particular program more focused on the truancy population, that the school district will identify that. They will let us know this student seems truant already or at risk. Then we can connect them with that particular program.
And do we have all of the languages, or is there primary languages that are spoken in the schools covered?
Yes, totally. I think probably one particularly is the high school wellness center, right? Since they cover 15 high schools throughout the city. So they have all the primary language being covered from their staff at the particular schools.
Okay, I think that's it, the questions I have for the moment.
Oh, thank you. I find this interesting. You said that in the vendors under your first program that you were supplementing it. Is the supplement added into the amount that, in other words, yours is a total amount, for example, at Balboa Teen of 316,000? Or there's additional money?
There's additional 60K being provided, funding notification already issued. So now the total amount is bigger than that because during like September timeframe, they realize they can't pay enough for their staff, then they can hire. So really happy to give us that feedback very timely. Appreciate the MHSA system of care at the funding, and they hired. So now services are being provided.
Oh, okay. So this is the amount from the program, then we then added additional money.
Yeah.
And so in your wellness initiative, and I'm glad to see the wellness initiative has spread to all of the schools, but the map doesn't seem to necessarily match the listing of schools. For example, you list there's an international high school, but I don't see them on the list here of the groups. And then what is the difference between Lowell Alternative and what we know as Lowell High?
Lowell Alternative is just Lowell High School. I apologize. I don't know why International High School didn't have a star, but this map is provided by our data analyst. But essentially, it covered the whole city. Every San Francisco high school that needs such wellness center has one.
Oh, okay. So every high school has one, regardless of whether it's in the map or on the list.
We really aim to, yes.
Okay. No, I remember when we were out at one of our community meetings, and the students from George Washington were very excited about the wellness center, and I know at that time we were really having troubles trying to get everybody with all the high schools having it. So I'm glad to see that that has really happened. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall we ask for public comment? Mark?
I apologize. Yes.
Yes.
Shall we go to the next? Oh, actually, public comment
Yes,
on
you
this
need
item.
to comment first.
Yes, folks, we're on item 10. If you'd like to make public comment on this item, please press star 3. I see no hands, so it's okay to.
And you know, Mark, they do mid-years and annual reports, so that might be something we want to look at when we were talking about trying to get outcomes when we're looking at the contracts.
Sure, I will note that. I'll try to figure that out for the calendar. Let's go into item 11 and the report back from solicitation 7781 and 82. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I guess it's 7482. And we only have about 10 minutes. So Teresa, if you could take us through this quickly, give me 1 second to share. Okay, let's see if your audio is working now, Teresa. Oh, unfortunately, we cannot hear you still. All right, so I'm going to suggest that we table this item, commissioners, and that we postpone it just due to the audio visual issue. And Teresa, I'm sorry, I know it must be frustrating on your end. Maybe you and I can do a meeting where we can figure this out. Is that okay with you all,
Yeah.
commissioners? Oh, were you there, Teresa?
Are you able to hear me? I just switched.
Oh,
So
are they?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're there. Okay, great. Now we're here. Okay, great. Okay. So let's go through this quickly. Here we go. Yeah, Teresa, I'm not sure what happened, but we can't hear you now. Okay. I'm going to make the executive decision just to
Yeah,
take this off.
we need to
All right.
for this then.
Yeah, no, thank you, Teresa. I'll email you and we'll figure this out. Thank you, and I'm sorry for this. Thanks for your patience. Item 12 is emerging issues. Commissioners, anything from you? Okay, let me ask the person on the line. Anyone from the public, if you'd like to make a public comment for emerging issues, please let us know by pressing star 3. I see no hand. Item 13 is public comment. This is a time to comment on something that's not on the agenda today. Please press star 3 if you'd like to do so. I see no hand. And so commissioners, please consider a consideration for adjournment. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. This is for the Finance and Planning Committee meeting?
For the Health Commission, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So commissioners, please consider a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
And I would second that.
Commissioner Chow, how do you vote on this issue?
Yes.
And Commissioner Guillermo?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, everybody.